But let's meet our very first guest today that's going to help empower you in a whole new way. So CJ, thank you so much for being here today. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Okay. I'm CJ Jackson with Healing Revolutions Wellness Spa now, actually, in Altamont Springs, Florida. And we do everything spa related. However, the one catch is we do it all for healing. So a lot of times people go to a spa and they feel they're going specifically for pampering. But we really go a little step further and we start looking at actually healing, the healing process. Our therapists are very specifically hired for their intuitive ability as well as their specialties, such as cranial sacral, which you know about.
Go on.
And then reflexology, ART, which is a very specialized technique. Also, prenatal, postnatal, that kind of thing. So we kind of help people with that as well, even through the nutrition. And we all kind of refer back and forth to each other. If one particular therapist feels that someone needs some help in another area, then they'll pass them to another therapist around. So we can really maximize that healing that particular individual needs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
so.
I know I've experienced it myself. I love the massage that I get and everything else that I've ever done at your place. It's absolutely fantastic. And you're right. It's the first time that I felt that it was more healing me medically instead of just relaxing me. And
Right.
you get relaxed too. Don't say that that doesn't happen, because you absolutely do. But you take it to another level. And what are you going to talk about with us today?
I'm going to talk about detoxifying the body. Our tagline is actually relax the mind, detoxify the body, and balance the soul.
Which came up with our theme for today. So thank you for that tagline.
You're welcome. Oh, that made me excited when I saw it. But specifically detoxify the body because my background is in herbal medicine and nutrition. And a lot of people, there's a lot of myth and legend around detoxifying. A lot of people say, oh, it's great, it's amazing. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't work. And it really comes down to the individual. A lot of times you'll go into these programs that are designed specifically for a general audience, if you will. And there's a powder for this and this for that. And we really specialize for each individual person. And we can go as far as getting blood work if needed through some labs that we're connected with.
Okay.
But we can create a detox program that's going to help specifically you and your body type and all the good stuff therein. We don't do anything that's prepackaged and boxed. Here you go, this is the food, we don't do that. We do try to get you back in the kitchen and all eating really healthy foods the right way. But we start to customize these programs. And detoxifying the body is really important, especially this day and age with the types of foods that are out there. You've got your genetically modified foods, you've got your organic foods, which are not really necessarily always what they say they are. On top of that, you've got, the environmental toxins that are everywhere. Stress. We are probably living in the most stressed out society I've ever seen in my life, and I'm sure Renee and them are going to talk about that later too. But wow, it's amazing to see how many people come in, and a lot of people don't think, but a lot of thyroid issues come from not necessarily as much poor diet as much as it's stress and environmental toxins.
So let's talk about define for somebody that's watching that may not live in this world or understand some of the things that you're saying. What is detoxifying your body? What does that mean?
It's basically cleansing the body and getting it back to a reset or a foundation that you're feeling lighter, you got more energy. You're not, a lot of times people eat a lot of meat, a lot of dairy, a lot of bread products. Those things a lot of times will sit in the gut or start adding on weight most of the time. And so by doing a cleanse or a detox, we're flushing the system. There's usually very high fiber involved, as well as particular things that help with lung, liver, kidney, gallbladder, those types of cleansing. And we do a combination of herbs, herbal teas, essential oils, specific supplements, and nutrition. That's what we work off of, and it's all naturally based stuff. So I'm not going to tell you that this is the powder that you need to take. I'm going to make you go to the store and get fruits and vegetables and create certain juices that are going to help with that.
That's awesome.
So
And you work with people all over the nation. So just because
I
you're
do.
located in Altamont Springs, you do via Skype or webinars or whatever, work with people nationwide.
Right.
So anybody that's listening that may have some concerns or may not know, how to become gluten-free or how to make a shake and have it be a healthy supplement for your family and, not get too many carbs or too much sugar or whatever, anybody can reach out to him, which is really cool, which is another reason why we asked him to be here today. But so you kind of talk to people about how to detoxify and how often should someone do that?
Well, it depends on the person. I mean, if you come to me and you're, largely overweight or obese, you're going to need to detoxify a few more times than someone who is very fit. Now, a lot of times people look at someone who is very muscular and they're fit, their muscles, but I'll tell you, they are typically people sometimes that need even more detoxifying than any because they're putting a lot of chemicals in the body, a lot of powders, a lot of, those protein things, So you want a detox to really reset your system because it can really put a heavy load on your liver, especially the proteins, amino acids specifically. So what you really want to try to do is keep yourself at a really good base foundation. And by doing this cleanse, you can do that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that someone who is overweight needs more detoxing necessarily than someone who is, a big person working out. They both might need to do just as much detoxifying as someone who might just be a normal, everyday person.
And how long does it usually take to detoxify your body?
Once again, individuality is really important. Someone might only need a week. Some people could take 2 to 3 weeks. If you are on heavy medications, and that's really what our focus is to try to help people. Weight loss to us is a side effect. It happens with a healthy lifestyle. But we really look specifically at medications and helping people reduce the medication or even get off the medication. And we're happy to work with any physicians that want to work with us on it. Some are, some aren't, it
Right.
just depends on the person.
Well, even my doctor, I can tell you, about a year ago when I went and I had some blood work done, when I was trying to start losing weight, she noticed that my liver enzyme levels were high, and she specifically said, what kind of supplements are you taking?
Right.
What? Because people you're watching Dr. Oz and you're going out and buying everything you possibly can to try and lose weight and popping all these pills. But she had talked about how a lot of those supplements that are being sold on the market right now are actually causing an effect on people's livers.
And they are. The one thing I like to tell people about Dr. Oz, I've had so many people that will come in and they'll put a bag of medication on my desk. But then I'll have someone come right after them and put a bag of 16, 17 different supplements. And, well, Dr. Oz says I should take this for this, and I should take this for this. I love Dr. Oz. I think he's great. However, he does have a 1-hour show he has to fill every single day.
Right.
So he has to come up with things on those shows. And that doesn't necessarily mean that one thing is better for you than something else. What you need to do is see a local professional, someone that you can connect with and have a relationship with, and build that person into your life that can help you determine what you need specifically. And when we do blood work with people, or we send people for blood work, we actually do what they call a spectranalysis, which kind of gives us an idea of how they're absorbing specific nutrients in the body. Sometimes people need it sublingually, some people need it. We actually even have an IV thing now that we do an IV drip on vitamins.
Wow.
Through a couple of nurses that do VitaFuse. So we have to really look at each individual person. Now, on a regular basis, having just a simple foundation of vitamins and supplements, a basic multivitamin, omega, support, maybe an antioxidant blend of some type. That's really all you really need, outside of maybe some people needing a bone or vitamin D or something like that we have to specifically get to you.
Right.
But there's no point of you taking all this extra stuff unless you need it, because all you're doing is just, once again, like your physician said, you're putting a heavy load of toxins into the system. And a lot of times this stuff is not natural, it's synthetic.
Right.
So you have to be aware of that.
Well,
you
and the
know.
bottom line is what I really needed was not to take all those pills and buy all those supplements. What I really needed to was to watch what I eat and
It's true.
exercise.
And
you know?
exercise.
And we all know that. So if you're looking for a quick fix, it's really taking a look at how can you, my doctor told my 8-year-old, if it grows from the ground, it's good for you. That's what you want to focus on eating, and that's what you have to focus on eating the most of, every single day. So just being real with what you're consuming and understanding that this is the gas that you're putting in your body, the fuel that you're using to feed yourself, which is important.
That's really true. Another way to look at it is if it has an expiration date, then obviously, depending on how far out that expiration date
Right.
is, you can get a can of beans or something, and it doesn't expire for like a year.
Right.
But your food really should, if it doesn't expire, then you don't want to eat it. I mean, if it has a really, really little expiration date within a week or two, typically it's good for you. And a lot of times that's going to be your fresh fruits, vegetables, things like that. And we do look into nuts and seeds. A lot of people come to us, oh, I want to do paleo, oh, I want to do this one. Well, we have to really look at that person and see what's going to work into their lifestyle, as well as work for them nutritionally. Like, what is it that they're missing in there that they're not getting somewhere else? That's when we might have to look at a supplementation program. Someone who, for instance, might be having issues on cholesterol, for instance. We may want to put them on a higher dose niacin supplement. However, that can put a heavy load, once again, on the liver. So if that happens, we have to watch that. We have to gauge that. And you're not going to do it all the time, but it's something that you want to do for 2 or 3 weeks. You're off for a little while and go back on it again. And just watch what you eat and exercise, as we talked about earlier.
That's awesome, and I think those are all very important things. Now, I know that you had mentioned briefly essential oils and how those can help you, and I know that we're hearing more and more about essential oils. It's like this new hot thing that is spreading across the nation with lots of our chapters and things. How can those help you either lower stress or sleep better or whatever it may be? Like, what are some of the things that we can use to take advantage of that, and how does it really work with your body?
Well, let me give you a little bit of basis on essential oils. Essential oils have been our medication for thousands and thousands of years. It's only as of recently that we've come into this pharmaceutical synthetic chemical industry. And what they typically do is they'll find particular plants or whatever. They will take those and break those, especially if they've gotten wind that they take care of a particular ailment, for instance, depression or sleep or whatever. They'll break that plant down into its individual components, whatever compounds that make that particular plant up, typically through the essential oil or some other type of chemical process. After that, they will then utilize those and test them against different viruses or whatever, anything like that, and see if it works. If it does, then by synthesizing it, maybe making it into a blend, now they can actually patent that and use it as a pharmaceutical drug.
Okay.
Not always a lot of testing going on. However, on the essential oil side, it's just the same way. A lot of times, aside from it, it's a natural compound, but a lot of times testing doesn't happen. And so there's a lot of hearsay out there on it. There is no regulation on it. So you have to be very, very careful at what you put into your system. We were very particular in the oil that we chose because it went through a specific process of testing where they tested through gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, as well as for heavy metals even, to ensure its purity and strength before it gets bottled. And a lot of times they only test it maybe every, like a normal company would test every 6 months or so. This company tests every single liter of oil that comes through, and they have very high standards, and that is doTERRA.
So how does it work? Like if you're placing an oil on your neck or on your foot or whatever, tell me realistically, how does that help you not be depressed? How does that help you sleep? An oil on my foot's going to make me go to bed.
Well, first of all, your feet is where your largest pores on your body are. So they get into your bloodstream within 30 seconds, and it will hit every single cell in your body in 30 minutes. At that point, there's been a couple of videos actually online where a particular doctor, he was stressed out, he was flying around a lot, and when he got back, he wanted to test a theory. And that was by taking his blood, they looked at all of his red blood cells, and when you're stressed out and you haven't been taking good care of yourself, your red blood cells, they're clumped together and they're like hugging each other, and they're not really freely moving around as they should be. And so by taking your blood, they put this oil on the bottom of his foot.
Okay.
30 seconds later, they took his blood again, and under the microscope, when they looked at it again, his red blood cells were floating around freely everywhere. And they've tested it several times to see if that was ongoing. They tried a few different people, and they noticed that it worked. And it's interesting because now there's certain hospitals, Cape Coral Hospital is one of them, Vanderbilt out in Tennessee is another one, that are using the essential oils now, and now they're testing theories on them and finding that they're working.
That's awesome.
There's a clinical research done on PubMed.gov, which is a government-run clinical site, on a blend of rosemary, eucalyptus, wild orange, clove, and cinnamon. But they tested a blend of other different ones. They weren't as effective as this particular brand, but this brand killed the H1N1 virus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So oregano they've tested. And oregano, a virus cannot mutate or grow in the presence of oregano. It's so strong. It's the natural antibiotic is what they call it. But by putting it in, anything you put on your body, it goes into your bloodstream immediately. Imagine the lotions and parabens and all you're sticking on your skin.
Absolutely.
A lot of breast cancer has been related back to
Deodorants
and antiperspirants have aluminum in it. Well, why? You're putting them under here, which is where there's also some larger pores. You know, it's where we detox, basically. But what happens, you're blocking those with an antiperspirant from allowing the toxins to get out. So what do? They start to build up in there. And it can cause issues, obviously, down the line if it's not able to get flushed out of the body.
So I think that's important. It's not just what you're putting, what you're eating. It's what you're putting on your body too, because you know it really it's a toxin, like you said. So
and
I think that's awesome.
Detoxifying too means your house. A lot of people don't realize the chemicals you use in your home. For instance, they did a toxicology report. Several news stations, and you can find these on YouTube as well, that have gone into homes. And they've actually tested after people, you know, dust with Pledge or whatever, you know, use their window treatments. But what happens is they get these high toxicology readings. And the thing about it is there's no regulation on your cleaning products. You can look at it and you don't know what the heck's in it. There's no ingredient label. They're not required to put that on there. And a lot of personal care products are the exact same way.
I just saw something alarming on Facebook the other day that had something about the bounce or like dryer sheets and the chemicals and how it goes onto your clothing, and then it affects it's a toxin that's going into your body. And like think about how many years people have been doing laundry with dryer sheets and not realizing that. So I think it's amazing. If you had any advice or suggestions for someone that's watching that may either have a concern about food, may have a child with ADHD, may have something going on in their life, what would be your biggest advice to them?
Really do some research. Reach out to someone who's knowledgeable on the case of detoxifying your home, detoxifying your body. I think those are very important. You know, for instance, some of the cleaning products that you have, they've related back to childhood asthma and allergies.
Wow.
So you really need to be aware of what you're putting in your house, how you're cleaning. The great thing about the essential oils is they're antibacterial, they're antifungal, some of them are antibiotic, antiviral. So if you learn those combinations and adding them into simple things like baking soda, vinegar, glycerin, vegetable glycerin, which are just natural products that we have, you can clean your house. It can be just as effective, if not more so, and there's no toxic chemicals. If you get it on your skin, you're getting a health benefit from it versus getting some type of rash or something,
right,
unless you're allergic to that particular plant.
Right.
But other than that, there's no allergic reaction to it. And I think that's really important for a lot of people, and they don't realize that.
How often have you worked with kids?
Oh, I've worked with probably 6 or 7 kids over the past couple of years.
And what type of issues? Because we've got a lot of moms that are out there that are watching right now. What type of issues have you helped them resolve? Just so as moms we can be more knowledgeable and think outside the box a little bit more and just know that there may be something we can do to help our child more.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of the simple things that we do is, if the child gets sick, using peppermint oil for fevers. It helps to reduce fevers. Those are simple little things. But, I had one particular instance. I won't say her name in case she's not up, but she is a WOAMTEC sister.
Yay!
Okay. But she brought her son to me who was having migraine headaches all the time, upset stomach all the time, and they couldn't figure out why. They didn't really have the money to go get allergy testing, so we had to do kind of a trial and error situation. But the first thing I cut out was dairy and gluten. We cut those two things out specifically. No issues at all whatsoever.
That's awesome.
And then the father didn't really believe in the system. And so when the mother went away for the weekend, the father actually bought the son Subway and all that kind of stuff. His upset stomach and all that came back. And so they realized that it was those items that were causing it. And ever since that she's gotten him on the gluten-free, dairy-free program, he's perfectly fine.
That is wonderful. Now, you gave me a set of books that I think was really helpful when I first started working with you. Do you can you tell everybody what it is and what you recommend? Because like the video and the books, it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's actually, there's a few of them. You can go on Netflix as well, and you can get a lot of these. Forks Over Knives is always my #1. I always send people to there. Now, I don't always, not everybody I necessarily say should go on a plant-based diet, okay? However, there is a lot of research that's gone on in the medical industry in regards to a very strong, heavily based plant diet that is really good for the body, done in the right way.
Right.
However, the other one is also called Hungry for Change, and another one is called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which sounds very traumatic.
Fat, sick, and nearly dead, yes.
But that one actually follows a gentleman who does a detox for 30 days and loses a lot of weight, and he does it all through juicing. And he travels, he's from Australia, but he travels the United States to do this. And while he's traveling, he's teaching people about juicing. And he gets check-ins every once in a while with the doctor, and they do his weight. By the end, he was off his medications, his autoimmune medications.
That's awesome.
So it's a really neat film. So those three specifically, and then the Forks Over Knives is always the first one I send people to because there's a great program with it. They have recipe books and the whole 9 yards. So that's a really, really good one. That's the one I gave you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, CJ, for being here today. It was a pleasure having you as a guest on the show. Thank you for sharing information. And Hawkins, I think it's time for us to start a detox. I think, can we get through the wedding this weekend first?
Absolutely.
And then we'll start the detox. All right, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here.